And we are live. What's up, everybody? It is Thursday. We are on webinar number 2 of the week. Like I said, that's a rarity for us, but when good content presents itself, we want to get it out to the public. And so we have great content today. We are joined today by Stanley Bastek with Atlas Shingles. Stan, thanks for jumping on with us.
My pleasure. So happy to be here with you guys today. It's a wonderful rainy day in Florida, so it's a good day to be getting some content and some education out there.
Absolutely. As we let some people kind of fill in here, you are actually down in Florida at the Roofing Insights Conference, Dimitri's event. How's everything going down there?
It's going great. Show season got kicked off a little bit sooner this year. There's a lot of new conferences. So we were at the Sky Diamonds conference a couple weeks ago, Jim Johnson Contractor Coach Pro earlier this week, and now the Roofing Process Conference coupled with the Fittest Roofer Man. So there's lots of opportunities for contractors to get face-to-face content, and it's only going to get better as we head into January and February. But if you're watching this webinar, that means you're trying to get better today sitting at home. So we love that too. Glad you guys are trying to better.
Absolutely. So today we're going to talk about 4 tips for establishing a killer brand. I've heard Stan talk on this topic multiple times. Absolutely kills it. Before we jump into that, I know there's usually somebody in the audience that isn't familiar with CompanyCam or familiar with Atlas and who Stan is. So basically what we'll do is we'll give a quick overview of who you are, Stan, and what Atlas is, what CompanyCam is, and then obviously we'll dive into the meat and potatoes. So with that, why don't you give us who is Stan? Stan the money suit man.
Yeah, I downgraded my money suit to a money polo. It's just hot and sweaty in that old thing. But I'm a sales director for Atlas Roofing Corporation. I've been with Atlas for 13 years, coming up in January, hanging out in the construction industry, seeing an incredible evolution in the construction industry from a technology perspective, consolidation of distribution, shingle innovations, new roofing technologies, the onset of solar. It has been a wild 10 to 12 years for me in seeing this industry evolve. And one of the most incredible ways I've seen it evolve is with the sales strategy, branding, marketing, and really the evolution of technology. So that's what I'm passionate about, and it's why I've stayed in this industry and stayed with Atlas, because it's a really, really great place to be. University of Michigan graduate, go blue. We lost last night, a tough one on the road. Big Ten's going to be tough this year in basketball, but I live down in Atlanta, Georgia, so happy to be here live with you guys today.
Perfect. Well, those, like I said, some of you guys might be that are in the roofing space. And if you aren't in the roofing space, this content is going to be perfect for you. But if you are in the roofing space, you're not familiar about the Atlas difference.
Yep.
Stan, why don't you just kind of give them a high level of what separates Atlas?
Yeah, and again, for those of you that are not in roofing, I think the things I'm going to be touching on today are really, broad focused and brand focused for any industry. But I think when you talk about roofing, just the quick product plug, we have the only shingle with Scotchgard protector backed by a lifetime guarantee from 3M. That Scotchgard protector is a huge opportunity in the home to have brand recognition with your customers and provide some real value with a lifetime warranty against that ugly staining on the roof, as you see in the picture. We have a bigger time and labor savings design with our shingle. We call that HP 42. And we have the #1 rated impact shingle on the market according to IBHS, and that is through our Core 4 asphalt technology on our StormMaster shingles, and some of the best performing wind products on the market as well. 130 mile per hour out of the box with 4 nails and 150, the only 150 mile per hour wind warranted shingle with our StormMaster shake. So that's like the 10-second tour, and I'd love to tell you guys all about it, but we'll jump into the branding piece here coming up.
Absolutely. Thanks, Stan. So quick, like I said, we always like to do just a quick high level of CompanyCam. If you're not familiar with CompanyCam, I'm going to throw the poll question out if you're a client or not. Yes, no, or you want to be. If you would answer that, just kind of get used to using the chat features, that'd be great. But CompanyCam, we are owned by a roofing company here in Lincoln, Nebraska, and we basically were built to help them get everyone on the same page. They had issues getting documentation from the field back to the office. And so basically we were built to do that. Looks like pretty much everyone joining us is a CompanyCam user, so I'm going to jump here. The solution. With the solution, obviously, you know how it works. Those of you that may watch this on demand, if you're interested in checking out CompanyCam, companycam.com/webinar is how to get that. We've got a nice promo that we've partnered with Atlas on. But basically, it's going to get everything sorted by GPS location. It's in real time. So those are the real big things for me. You don't have to worry about your guys uploading photos or attaching photos, putting them in the correct file. And it's done as they're taking the photos in real time. So just a really easy way to see what's happening when it's happening. So again, adds a level of transparency, increases employee accountability, and kind of just gives you that window to the job site without actually having to be there. So if you're watching this on demand, my contact information will be at the end. We'd love to have you check out CompanyCam, companycam.com/webinar. But those of you here, you know CompanyCam. Let's go through 4 tips for establishing a killer brand. And like I said, Stan, I'm going to kind of just turn this over to you. This is your expertise. But those of you in the audience, we want to make this as interactive as possible. So if you have questions, you want Stan to focus in on a little bit of more on something, just drop it in the chat, and I will make sure that we get that done for you.
Yeah, rock and roll. So, brand, I think, oftentimes gets confused with, logos and design and things like that. And that's a really small part of what your overall brand is. Those are messaging. Those are strategies. Those are brand. Again, your logo really is helping communicate your brand, but your brand is really something that needs to be nurtured at all times in everything that you do, by everyone that works for you. And it's how you want customers to feel about you. So our 4 tips that we're going to kind of cover today, from the way we look at brand, is number 1, don't behave like a commodity, unless you mean to be, right? I think in our space, in the service industry, whether that's roofing, whether that's plumbing, whether that is, windows, whatever that is, you're providing a service and you have a lot of competition, and these are commoditized industries. So it's really important from a brand perspective to figure out how to separate yourself from that commodity behavior. So that's our tip number 1 we'll get into. Remembering what you're selling. I think that part of a really good overall brand is identifying how your go-to-market strategy is connecting with the consumers. Are you the type of customer delivering the type of service that you would want to buy from as a consumer? So thinking like a consumer because you are one, right? Your customers are consumers, but guess what? So are you. So we've boiled that down to choice and curb appeal is a big part of remembering what you're selling. The third thing we'll talk about is affordability without being cheap. I think part of your brand is how accessible your service is based on their ability to afford that roof, that new water heater, that kitchen remodel, whatever it is. Affordability is big, and the way you communicate affordability is really important. And sometimes it's done really well, and sometimes it's not done as well as it could be. And then low-hanging fruit is delicious. So we're going to talk about things that we view as really powerful low-hanging fruit to nurture your brand. And again, establishing a killer brand is a lot of things, but you're never going to establish it and be done with it, because a brand is living. It is alive. Everybody that works for you represents that brand and either has a positive or negative impact on it. So those are the things we're going to cover today. So we'll kind of jump in now that we've set the stage for those 4 things. And I think the thing to remember is strong brands affect sales, and so do weak brands. It might be obvious, but I really like stating the obvious, because if you're not working on brand every day consciously, if you don't have goals, if your people don't understand what your goals are and what your brand expectation is, it's going to affect sales. So keeping that in mind as a benchmark. Why do I say this? I say this because sales, revenue, and profitability determine whether or not you get to stay in business, determine whether or not your employees get to continue to have a job. If we don't have sales, if we don't have profitable sales, then we don't have a business. So if brands affect that, then we should be working really hard to nurture those brands. I think there's things that we can do all throughout our business processes that help nurture that brand. And we sort of look at it as this repeating cycle in some ways. You have to do things before jobs in the basic business preparation and the pre-job communication. There's things that you can do during the actual job, and then there's things that we do after the job. And then the gray area is everything in between. That's the glue that's sort of holding your business together. So it's a repeating cycle. And to be an agile company, you really have to create repeatable processes that work, and then identify the areas within the business that are not working very well, fix them, fine-tune those. So that sort of agile mindset is really important, especially when you're thinking about your brand. But let's kind of get into tip number one and talk about commodities for a second. When I first got into this industry, it was very clear that I walked into a business that was highly commoditized. And I'm not talking about this specifically, but I walked into an industry that viewed an asphalt shingle as a commodity, right? And many people view an asphalt shingle as a commodity. But we had to make some very conscious decisions that we didn't want to participate. We didn't want to buy into what others expected us or needed us to be. You are a roofing contractor. You get commoditized all day, every day, because homeowners get multiple quotes. So you have to make a conscious decision and understand that others may think you're a commodity because they're trying to leverage and control you from a pricing perspective. So don't behave like a commodity means that you have to be doing something different than the other people out doing the same thing in your space. And there's a lot of people doing the same thing in the space. We get a lot of really interesting data on an annual basis from 3M. They do an economic forecast. And one of the pieces of data that I'm always so fascinated about is what was the reason for brand choice? So 3M does this survey every 3 or 4 years with consumers who recently bought a roof. So within, I think it's the last 12 or 18 months, they call thousands of homeowners, and then the people that actually have recently bought a roof, they ask them a series of questions. And one of those questions is, why did you choose the brand of roofing that you ended up going with? And there's some pretty obvious stuff in here: contractor recommendation, preferred warranty, brand reputation. But then there's price. And price is only 13% of the main reason why people chose the brand, right? So we're thinking about this from our perspective, but I think this is very translatable. So what this tells me is 87% of people that bought a roof didn't make the choice primarily on price. Price is always going to be important, but it's the minority of people that make the ultimate decision just based on cheap. Who was the low bidder? It's a really important thing for us to sort of baseline understand. Your customer, your homeowner, is not looking for you to walk in with the cheapest bid. They're not looking for that. They're looking for you to walk in and bring the most amount of value for what their budget is, right? And they're also looking for you to bring choices.
Hey, Stan, real quick on that slide, I'm going to jump back to it. And I don't know what the qualifiers were when they did the study, but I would even think that of that 13% that made the decision based on price, not all of them made the decision purely on a low price.
Absolutely.
I'm in the grocery store and it's like, okay, here's my Pop-Tarts, and then here's the toaster warmers, and the price is, it's only 50 cents more. These have to be better.
Yes.
The logo and everything, it looks good, it's clean. I'm going to go more expensive. My brain says a little more expensive probably means it's better. So even if that 13% based on price, I would argue most of them probably aren't necessarily just wanting the cheapest of the people. So great info. Sorry for interrupting.
I think it's a good point, and I think we could talk all day about the whole philosophy on price. I think you said something that I think is really interesting. If it's more expensive, there's a perception that it's better, right? And I think we all know, because we've been sort of jaded over our lives, right, that isn't necessarily always. We have to do a little more digging than that. However, if you're the cheapest, there's definitely a perception that there's a problem, right? Like, even the most expensive isn't always the best, but if the cheapest is almost always viewed as that's the worst option. So you don't want to be that guy, right? You don't want to be the low bidder in the house. That's a volume game, and it's not a sustainable business practice. So I think there's a lot of things you can think about from consumer psychology perspective. And guess what? If you're in the home, You are essentially a psychologist. You're trying to help this customer, consult this customer, buy their way into a roof, number one, but you're also trying to make sure that they feel really good about it, right? So, it's just like bartending. I bartended for 5 years and I loved it because you're dealing with people, right? We're in the people business, and at the end of the day, we're trying to understand people's motivations so that we can sell them something that they feel really good about, right? So let's kind of switch to this idea of how we have to be careful of behaving like a commodity. Contractors, there's a ton of you in the marketplace, right? I hate to say it, there's a bunch of manufacturers, there's a bunch of distributors, there's a bunch of contractors. And they're quotes than they ever have. Probably in the range of 3 to 4, if not 5 quotes. And if it's a storm situation, homeowners have a unbelievable amount of people knocking on their door trying to get on their roof. So there's a lot of quotes. Homeowners have a lot of information, almost too much information. Then you also have to think about what the vision for your company is. And I really always wonder, like, are you guys dealing with price pressure? Have you ever been told your price is too high, or I have a bid that's lower than you? And everybody that is watching this can say, yeah, absolutely, I deal with a lot of pricing pressure. So what it boils down to, if you're doing what everyone else is doing, you're going to keep slugging it out with pretty average close rates and compressed margins. The average close rate for a roofing contracting business that we talk to is in the 25 to 30% range. So we're losing 7 to 8 out of 10 jobs that we bid on, right? It's like baseball. It's worse than baseball, right? 300's okay, right? And that is something we need to think about. You're spending money to go estimate and bid and measure roofs that we don't get any revenue out of. So what are we doing to attack that piece of business? That's part of this whole brand conversation. And I love to talk about powerful brands that have completely changed the perspective on traditional commodity industries. What's a commodity? A cup of coffee is a pure commodity, right? Like, it's a basic human need, I would argue. It's like, air, water, food, shelter, and coffee. A cooler is highly commoditized. You can get a styrofoam cooler at a gas station, a t-shirt, right? Clothing, a telephone, right? A computer. The companies that you see on the screen here took traditional commodity industries and turned them on their head. And what are the things that these companies have in common? So Gogan, you tell me, man. I know you've heard this spiel, but you look at Yeti, Starbucks, Apple, Under Armour. What do these companies have in common?
They're not cheap.
Boom. They are selling the most expensive possible product in their respective spaces. They're competing in commodity industries. They do not discount, hardly ever, right? And they're very popular. So how can a company charge $500 for a cooler? That's a really important question. How can a company charge you $7 for a Frappuccino or $600? Do you know that you're really paying $1,000 for an iPhone over 2 years? I don't care what payment plan you're on. Apple doesn't discount it. The AT&T or Verizon might be, but Apple, you are paying Apple $1,000 for the right to be talking on that phone. That's crazy. $70 for an Under Armour polo. These are brands that understand that it's not about price. They nurture a value proposition that means more. And I know you had some thoughts on this too, Gogan. So
yeah, I did.
You look at these brands, and it really is incredible what they're able to do, and it's possible for you as a business owner as well.
I was giving somebody a hard time on Facebook just the other day, and he's a pretty low key guy, not big spender, those things. And he was in San Francisco, and he has a Yeti hat. So here he is with his family. He's got this picturesque Golden Gate Bridge photo, and he's rocking the big Yeti across his hat. It blows my mind.
It's amazing.
Not only are they willing to spend $500 for a cooler, they're going to spend $35 to market that cooler on their hat. So,
dude might not even have the cooler. He just might like the hat. But what I'd love to say is that dude is repping a cooler hat, right? You are literally wearing a hat promoting a cooler. But I've got one too, man. It's crazy. But this is what we do when we find value and we see value in the brands that we love. We become brand ambassadors, which is what these companies absolutely want you to be, right? You know, like there's that whole thing about Starbucks coffee, you know, in some countries it's a status symbol. So they got to make sure that that logo is facing out so people see that you have a Starbucks coffee. Apple stickers, like I see people driving around their Honda Civics with Apple stickers on the back. Like these are transcendent brands because we are like, we're proud of it. I bought this. I spent more money on it. I want you to know about it, right? I really believe in this. So how do you do that with your roofing business? Because guess what? There's out there selling roofs at $1,000 a square. It's happening, right? A lot of those are remodeling companies that understand the value of financing and how to sell people something that they didn't see value in versus slugging it out in the unprofitable do it for what insurance will pay space. So there's out there to be wrong, but it can be done. People are a lot less price sensitive than we give them credit for. So logo does matter, right? I said that's not all your brand is, but it does contribute. Logo, taglines. These are a couple companies that we know, and then there's one that we just sort of look some stuff up or we've seen things. But I look at a couple of different brands like Ben Hill Renovations. These guys are amazing, and their tagline is "Creating Raving Fans Since 1964." And ever since I met these guys and saw this, I just have always thought this is the perfect message that you could be delivering about your brand and about what your company represents. If you're a homeowner and you read this and you haven't created a raving fan, right, as a sales rep for that company, as a manager for that company, as a installer for that company, we haven't met our mission statement, right? That is a powerful brand message, right? It nurtures that brand by setting an expectation for everyone in the organization, but also for the customer. They read that and they say, wow, they want me to rave about them, right? It's very deliberate. Quality roofing and painting. Quality is not expensive, it's priceless, right? You're price conditioning someone with your message. So you're telling people, do not call me if you expect me to be the cheapest price, right? It's a lot more expensive in the long run for you to make a mistake and go with the wrong company, okay, versus paying a little bit more and doing it right. Those are powerful brand messages. They say something about who we are and what we're going to do. Cheap Roofing 361, fast and accurate estimates. That brand message communicates something too. We're going to be cheap, we're going to be fast, and we're going to be accurate. Okay, right? Like it's setting an expectation. I'm not saying any one of these is right or wrong. I have some opinions about what brands I think will be more successful and more profitable, but I think you have to be very careful about how you represent yourself with your brand and your messaging. So that's tip number one. Any comments, questions? What do you think?
I thought it was a great tip. The one thing that just comes to my mind every time I see the Cheap Roofing 361 is what 4 days they decide to take off in a year. Because
I was thinking the same thing, man. I don't know either, but
it's like, I mean, Christmas, maybe New Year's Day.
Yeah.
So.
Might be Easter in there. We'll see. Depends. Yeah, it's funny. So, and I think it's just like you got to be conscious of what you don't throw something together. Get opinions about it, right? I love the online forums that people are posting pictures of their truck wraps and their logos and their stuff they're doing at their offices and getting feedback. Like there's a whole online community of people that want to help you with your brand, right? Don't be afraid to ask for help, right? We don't all have it figured out. I do it all the time. So that there's a lot of ways that you can sort of nurture that brand communally as well. So let's hit tip number 2. Remember what you're selling. You're selling choice and you're selling curb appeal. If you go in and you have one option, then my perspective is I've got to go get a bunch more options. I haven't heard everything I needed to hear from this contractor that just came in. If you go in with multiple options, you get an opportunity to frame your competition or your potential competition coming in behind you, but you also get to show that there are more ways to do this, right? And you also get a chance to upsell, have the homeowner upsell themselves. And the other thing, this is certainly going to be applicable for some of your users with CompanyCam and others maybe not so much, but curb appeal with exterior projects, anybody that's doing exterior projects, a lot of the reason we get called is because there's a problem. right? So we have to be very conscious that even though there's a roof leak or my windows are drafty or whatever, you may be getting called because they're trying to fix their energy problem or their heat escaping through the windows. But you have an incredible opportunity to upgrade their curb appeal and the way their home looks and the way they feel about it. So that's, I think, really a big part of this tip number 2 is remember what you're selling. This picture right here it is such a proof statement for this. I mean, it's a beautiful home. 50% of what you see from the curb is the home, or is the roof, right? So when we replace a roof, what are the reasons why your customers are going and getting on roofs, Michael? They're getting called because most of their customers just have the money sitting in a bank account and are dying to put a new roof on.
Yeah, it's leaking. I've got hail damage. I've got missing shingle. I would say probably one of the big ones is I found a shingle in my yard when I was mowing.
Yes, right.
You don't even pay attention to your roof as a homeowner.
Right. It is like the forgotten son until the problem. And it's like a crisis, right? Water is coming in. I have this shingle in my yard. I'm worried about it. Hail has hit my house, right? There's 25 people running through my neighborhood telling me I got hail damage. I don't know what this means. You show up because of a problem, right? And you're not just there to fix their problem. You're there to help make their curb appeal dreams a reality, right? You are adding an immense amount of value to their home when you put a new roof on. So think like a consumer because you are one, right? Like, let's stop pretending that it's you as the salesperson and your customer are on two different sides of the table. You are on the other side of the table too with other things that you do. You go into Best Buy and somebody comes up to you about the TVs you're looking at, right? How do you feel? What do you like about that process? How do you view the options, right? We're all consumers, so we have to think like that. And our sales pitch should be evaluated against our own bias, right? How we feel about salespeople should play into how you sell, right? Very, very important. And I can tell you the way I like to sell, be sold, is not good, better, best, right? I like to be sold in a best, better, good, right? I want to see the primo thing out there. I want to see it so that I know I can't afford it, right? Because I want to salivate over it and I want to aspire for it because we all want more than we can necessarily get, right? That's just the way we're wired. Can I get an upgrade, But when you start with good, what you do is you put yourself on the same level as everyone you're competing with. When you start with best and you drop back to better and then drop back to good, you frame your competition as just good, right? So there's a little psychological play there in terms of how you can establish choice. At Atlas, we try to do that with our products, but we also talk to contractors who are selling our competitors' products, and we're totally comfortable being part of that good, better, best because we believe that we bring value that's going to help you as a contractor in the home offer things that are unique and differentiated. Your best offering should be your lead offering every time. Don't let your sales reps off the hook. Don't let them not pitch this, right? It should have serious differentiation, possibly top performing product, something unique about the way you install that, the types of accessories you use, okay? And it should be a high out of pocket for customer. You should almost be uncomfortable with how much you're charging because there's people out there willing to pay for great. Your better is a little out of pocket for the customer, more than the insurance company is going to cover, okay? But it's your first drop. It's still got some value added and differentiation. And this has to have really good margin for you, right? This has to be an optimal margin. So it's not the most expensive thing. It's accessible, but it's a little bit of a stretch. And then good, it's not like you're stopping yourself being competitive with what other contractors are out offering. You just frame it as everyone else. I can do what everyone else is doing. I can charge what everyone else is charging, but this is what my roof is going to look like. In order for me to be profitable, this is what I would have to do. So here's the beauty of this. If you present a best, better, good, most customers are going to gravitate to which of these? What do you think, Michael? If you're presented a $5,000 TV, a $2,500 TV, and a $19.99 TV, where do you think most people are going to go?
Yeah, I think without even hearing the pitch, hearing the products, I think you probably, lean towards the better. It's like, better probably. But I think you also, my personal opinion when I talk about the Pop-Tarts is I'm probably wanting the best. So if financially I can make it work, I'm going best. So I would say you're probably falling somewhere between 2 and 3.
Yeah, I think most people are going to fall right in that middle and want to know more about the best. You're 100% right. Like, we can't sell something that we haven't presented. So if you have an option on the table, whether that's the Tesla roof or an Atlas Storemaster slate or whatever, pick a product, right? If you really love some high-end designer shingle from someone, right? Like, put that in your bid, show it, because you don't know who's going to say, I got to have that, right? And then, I think most people are going to sort of settle in the middle, and there's still going to be some people who are going to take, hey, I need that good roof, right? I need a good roof. I don't need a great roof. That's okay. I think that when you play into that logic, you can also structure your pricing in a way that helps your sales reps, right? You can pay them more in commissions on average if you give them more options, okay? And they're going to get paid their commission rate on a higher ticket, right? So it also has a benefit there. But when you talk about this factor, you also have to drive home like how much people are spending on other things. If your service is roofing, right, you can say to them, look, my roof is $1,000 more. You're spending $1,000 a year maintaining your pool. You're spending $2,000 a year landscaping your yard. You're spending $600 a year pressure washing the driveways. I mean, seriously, you're spending all this money trying to maintain your curb appeal, and you're worried about $1,000 on a roof that is going to be 50% of what you're seeing from the curb. People will connect with that. They will understand it, but only if you lead them there, right? We have to stop undervaluing what we're selling, right? And if it's other products, you guys have to figure out ways to do that. But we talk a lot about curb appeal because it really translates to how much of the roof plays an impact on that curb appeal. Product plug for you guys, man. Like, I really believe in CompanyCam. I really do. And I know most of the people watching this live are already CompanyCam users, as you established. But if you're coming across this content and not using it, what I think the other part of this tip and choice and, consumers wanting to see things, they want to see what's going on their roof before they make a decision. And CompanyCam is not just a tool for sort of documentation and protecting yourself, but it's also a powerful tool for bringing the roof to your customer. So I believe so strongly in how powerful organized ways of showing customers their roof. When you're like, hey, I know you called me for a leak in your skylight, but this roof is shot. If you just say that to them, they're not going to believe you. If you come down and you've got 30 photos that show them where their roof is failing them, they're going to be like, oh my God, I had no idea how bad it was. Thank you for showing me all this, right? It makes your sales job a lot easier and it makes you a lot more credible. So There you go. It's part of that tip number 2. So tip number 3 is addressing affordability without being cheap. We are in an era where there are so many options out there for financing and card companies that will work with you, but I can tell you right now that we still come across so many customers of ours and so many contractors in business that are not addressing affordability the right way, right? And you can say this is an opinion, but I don't believe it's an opinion. I believe this is just fact. It's based in consumer research. It's based in consumer behavior. People want as many possible options for how they can pay for a project as possible. This applies to whether insurance is involved and it's just a deductible payment or not. This applies to whether or not your customer has $12,000 sitting in a piggy bank waiting to be spent on this roofing project. And it also applies a lot to people who cannot afford it, right? Who maybe are putting that roofing project off because it's just too expensive. So it starts with credit cards, okay? And a reasonable way of looking and approaching that goes into other financing. I'm showing a couple companies here. We don't really have a preference on what you're using for financing, really, truly. We just think that you have to be using this in your portfolio. So let's talk about a couple of things here. Roofs get paid for by insurance quite a bit, but the homeowner still has to come out of pocket for the deductible. This is finally getting taken very seriously in the state of Texas, where it was probably one of the worst states in terms of dealing with the deductible games that were being played. Okay, so deductibles have to be paid. And in a state where it's a 2% deductible state, a $300,000 home, the homeowner has to spend $6,000 when their roof gets hit with hail. That is not a roof, right? That's an expensive deductible. Insurance obviously is a big one. Cash is another one. People are paying for that out of pocket. People want to swipe their credit card. People are taking out a loan, right? There's a lot of different loans. There's home equity lines of credit. That's a tough one, right? Nobody really wants to do that. And then there's other types of financing. But the most basic one is credit cards. And what we see so much, and it says something about your brand. Okay, let's go back to this. You have the reactive approach. You've presented your customer with a bid for $10,000. And then they come to you because you didn't advertise that you took credit cards, because you don't really want to take it, right? You don't really want to pay the swipe charge. They say, hey, do you take credit cards? Okay, I got your estimate. Do you take credit cards? And you say, yeah, I can. I can swipe your credit card, but I have to charge you 3% to run it, because that's what they charge me, right? You have made your customer pissed, right? Even if they don't say it, you're like, gotta be kidding me. In today's day and age, you're going to surcharge me, right, for a business decision that you know. So this is a really important thing that businesses need to take seriously. Stop hiding your credit card piece and start promoting it on every estimate, on your website, on everything. We take credit cards, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, right? Promote the heck out of it. Put it on your trucks and build in 5%, okay? Because you're already probably not as profitable as you should be or you want to be. Build in 5% and then take a proactive approach. So you've presented your estimate, your extra cost is built in, and then you don't get the do you take credit card question first. The first question you're probably going to get is, your price is a little high. Is this the best you can do? Well, we feel really good about our price for what we've proposed. We've shown you a couple options, okay? But I can offer you a cash discount of 5% if you're paying by check, okay? Powerful, powerful move here. You have just given nothing away because you built it into your price, okay? Now, here's the really powerful thing. If they don't ask you for a cash discount, you've just put more margin in your pocket because of your strategy around credit card cost, okay? So there's reactive selling and proactive selling, and there's so many people out there hawking their financing programs. We're skipping the most important step. Credit cards are a form of financing, and there's a lot of people that just want to get the points and they'll pay it off, right? So this is a strategy I think a lot of people need to start taking very seriously. Second part of this is promotional financing, and it's knowing consumer behavior. I want to get the bigger iPhone with no button because that's better, right? I want to get the one with 3 cameras instead of 1 camera. I want to get the convertible instead of the Ford Pinto. I want to get the 3-seat recliner. I want to get the bigger diamond ring, right? Like, we are a society of, can I get an upgrade, right? And these companies, industries that you're seeing here they have figured this out, right? So if you want to sell upgrades, you have to be selling promotional financing. And that's where companies like Green Sky, Foundation Finance, Enhancify, you name it, right? Wells Fargo, Synchrony, there's Hearth. There's so many companies out there. Now, there's very different models. I would say do some research because they're all very different. But promotional financing works for 2 types of buyers. Leverage your cash buyers and monthly payment buyers. Cash buyers have the money. They just want a reason to buy today. I don't have to spend my money today. You're giving me your money, and I'm going to have 18 months with no interest. That's one type of buyer. Then you have the buyers that they're not buying the roof unless it's affordable, and the only way it's affordable is with a monthly payment. So let me come full circle on this, and then I'll take a breath, Gogan. And the full circle part about this from a brand perspective is, if you present yourself and train your sales reps to go in the home and sit and do this, hey, buying a new roof, getting new windows, doing your kitchen is one of the most expensive and stressful things you could do because of how expensive it is. I know that. We know that. But we can make this very affordable for you. So let's get that out of the way right off the bat. We can work with your insurance company, okay? So we'll take a look and see if there's damage. But if there is, we can help you fund the deductible through financing or credit card. If there's no damage, okay, and it's a retail sale, listen, we take all types of credit cards, and we have multiple promotional financing offers to help make this affordable, right? So it allows you to sort of set the table, and what that says about your brand is this company is easy to work with. They've thought about my biggest concern, which is how the heck am I going to pay for this roof, right? Yep. That is a powerful part of nurturing your brand, is showing that you're affordable. This is just a couple of things that we think, really drive that home. If you're the low bidder mentality, it communicates to the customer, we will not be beat. We will match any estimate. And what that's telling them is you're going to cut some corners. That's what it tells me, right? They're going to do whatever they have to get the job. That's not really what I'm looking for, right? I'm not looking for that person that's going to do whatever they have to do to beat the price, right? I don't need that. I'm afraid of what I'm going to be getting with that. Then again, we have that surcharging. If you have a surcharge model, it makes me feel like there's something hidden, and that's a lack of transparency, right? When you're consultative educational selling, you're making this stressful large project really, really comfortable because it's affordable. So I'm going to take a hot second and take a breath. What do you think, man? You think affordability plays into brand? I hope this makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So my big takeaway with that is, we talked about, or you mentioned real early on, that price isn't what they're buying on, but
right,
alleviating that stressor is huge.
Yes.
They'll take their guard down instantly, because if I go into it thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to write a check for this, and you start telling me things that are wrong with my house, I'm going to say, I don't know if I trust that. I don't know if I trust that. But set the table. We have all these options to help pay for this. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Let me know what's wrong. Let me know how to make my house as nice as possible. So I think that's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. If you take that consultative approach, you're going to build trust, okay, and they're going to want to work with you. And if you make it affordable for them, you're more likely to get that job. So it's just a really important part of how are you communicating what your company is all about. The final tip is this low-hanging fruit idea, and low-hanging fruit is delicious because it's so obvious, and it has such a quick and immediate impact on your business. And low-hanging fruit sometimes gets a bad rap. It's like, oh, people are just out grabbing the low-hanging fruit. There's a lot of people out not paying attention to the low-hanging fruit, right? So why work harder than you have to? And one of those ways is nurturing your brand in the neighborhood. I see so many job sites that have zero branding around them, right? And if you are a business owner and you have a crew on a job site and you have done nothing to make sure that the neighborhood around there has an opportunity to be exposed to your brand, you are not creating a killer brand. You are neglecting your brand. You are forgetting your brand. You're just there to do a task, right? And there's a couple ways that I think you got to think about this. Number one, take advantage of whatever the HOA will allow, right? And many neighborhoods don't have an HOA, so get the yard sign up, right? Do the clover leafing of handwritten notes to the neighbors, like, hey, we're doing a job in your area. Let us know if you have any problems. But get creative too, right? There's a picture on the right here of one of our contractors in Georgia that, has a beautiful tent, and they have their logo on it, right? And they have a table set up with information. And if the HOA complains about that, move the tent over to the driveway and have the crew stage some stuff underneath it and have them eat their lunch under the tent, right? It'll be a nice place for them to get some shade, and your brand is still out there. And then it's part of your construction site setup. Get your brand on the site in some way. You can build little slow down, roofing project going on signs that have your brand on it, right? Get creative in the neighborhood. You should have a game plan of attack for every job, and hire somebody to go out and manage that, right? That branding will pay dividends, right? Pay somebody just an hourly rate to go and set job sites up from a branding perspective with a fixed thing, and then go cloverleaf the neighbors with some handouts, right? Do that extra step and see what happens in terms of brand recognition. The second thing is keep prospects on your site. So I sort of I whited out whose website this was, but the logos on the bottom are important, and people do this with our logo as well. They put the Atlas logo on, or the GAF logo, or the Velux logo. You know where those links go? They go out of your site if you let them. You are in the conversion business. I'm a manufacturer. I'm not in the conversion business with a homeowner, right? If I get that lead, right, I can't put that roof on. You're in the conversion business. Never have a link away from your site as a contracting company, okay? I would need a very compelling reason why you needed to do that. You should do everything you can to keep everything full circle on your site, right? It's low-hanging branding fruit, but don't let someone else's site sell someone. You sell them and convert them on your site, right? If you get them there, don't lose them, right? And there's a lot of manufacturers that have tools that can help you with that. Put the content right on your site, right? And it is important to have that stuff on your site. So I'm not saying don't have your designations and your product content, but just make sure that it's there and it stays there. Professionalism is part of how your brand appears. This is a contractor that has appointment reminders that go out to their customers, and it shows a picture of the person that's going to be knocking on their door. How much better I feel company brand if, you know, the day before that you're supposed to show up, I see a picture of the person that's coming, and then when the door knocks, it's like, oh, there's Joe. I know Joe. I just read about Joe, right? It's a very simple thing you can do with tons of CRM and automation tools just to look professional and make people feel really good about your professionalism. Testimonials are one of those things that are done, I think, okay, but you need to be prepared to send a testimonial out within 48 hours after that job is complete. And what this does for your brand is it ensures two things. The really good testimonials you get, you can call and thank them for, right? And the really bad ones, because inevitably you're going to get some sort of like, you guys are the worst, you screwed up, you didn't meet my expectations. Catch them directly before they end up on Google or on Facebook, because then they're really hard to get down. So that testimonial process, making sure that it's quick, and people don't write reviews for average. They write reviews really good or really bad. So those are the things we really want to catch.
Yeah, one thing with that, Stan, and I talk to contractors all the time, and I always try to add this to the conversation. I'm a homeowner. I'm not a contractor. And you could go and replace my roof today, and if you use the same brand shingles and same color, I will not notice that my roof changed.
Right.
So if you're a roofing contractor, you can't expect to just go put a new roof on and just be like, well, I did a great job, they're going to give me a review.
Right.
You've got to find little things as a contractor that you can do to make that experience above average. Because like you said, they want basically to write the recommendation or the testimonial on bad or great.
Yeah.
If they get what they expected, they're probably not going to leave you a review. So maybe it's something little you do to their yard, or something you do nice to their kids, or who knows what it is, but it's that little thing that sets you apart. So just wanted to add that in there.
Yeah, maybe you mow their lawn, right? You got a guy after cleanup that like mows the lawn for them, and like, you know, I mean, there's so many little things that you can do. And you also hit on something really important for our industry. You know, if the industry hasn't evolved, put pressure on it, right? And I think the shingle manufacturers have done a pretty good job of evolving styles a little bit. But like you just said, like if you take a weathered wood shingle off and put a weathered wood shingle on, what did you really do, right? And that's where a lot of these high definition colors have come in, different styles, slate looks, and things like that. And again, it goes back to making sure you're showing those things, because I think a lot of people are like, you're just replacing my brown roof with another brown roof, right? Like show them options, right? So online reviews, low-hanging fruit. There is a lot of just absolute wasteland of bad reviews that don't get responded to. And with a message it sends about your brand, if you don't respond to a bad review online, is that you don't care. And if you see a bad review, you need to immediately respond to it. But then what you don't want to do is you don't want to get into a shouting match online with somebody, because If you respond, they're probably going to respond again, right? You're not trying to make them wrong. You're just trying to show everyone else that would read that review how you handled it. And if you handle it in a reasonable way by responding and saying, we will talk to you directly about this, we'd like to take this conversation offline, we think we handled this in a fair way, but we're happy to work with you. Anybody reading that response to that bad review is going to say, that's all I would ask for, is that we just have a conversation. If you're pissed off, you're never going to make a really, really angry customer, feel like they weren't wronged. I think the goal is to make them happy, right? But you can't make every customer happy. But the reviews that are out there, you've got to take notice of them, and you've got to work to resolve those. Final couple of things here on low-hanging fruit. Register the warranties if there are. Like if you're in an industry like roofing where manufacturers make it very easy to register warranties, take that extra step for your customers. And then what happens is typically the warranty registration process takes a few weeks. So if 2 to 3 weeks after you're done with the job, you've collected the check, etc., they get a handwritten note in the mail with a printed copy of their warranty, or even better yet, maybe one of your sales reps is in the neighborhood calling on another lead, and they drop something off, with a handwritten note or a thank you or a $10 Applebee's gift card, whatever. You are then creating a more sustainable, lasting relationship that is more likely to result in the gold standard of leads. And what's the gold standard of leads, Gogan? I know it's the one you don't have to pay for, right?
Yep. It's organic.
It's the organic referral lead, man. It's the one where people are selling on your behalf. I had a great experience with this company. They went above and beyond. They did something I totally wasn't expecting. So that's what low-hanging fruit is, man. It's doing the little things that often get overlooked, but they're pretty obvious when we talk about them, right? And I think you can probably check some of those boxes, but if you're not checking all those boxes, you're leaving some of that fruit up there to rot, right? So go get it, man. It's delicious. I'll just kind of close with this, and then we can have some Q&A or just chat about a few more things. But let Atlas be part of your strategy. Come talk to us about the Atlas Pro Network and Asphalt Life, and we'd love to show you what we're all about. And we love learning from our contractors and learning from people, whether they're buying from us or not, about what we as a manufacturer, but also what we as an industry leader can do to make it better for our most important customer, which is you as a roofing contractor.
For sure. There we go. I was going to say, I could condense our contact info slides.
There we go.
So that those watching now or on demand reach out to us and, take that down. So we'll just maybe leave that, and we'll answer any questions we have right now. Stan, like I said, killer content. I loved hearing you talk. I think it's just, if nothing else, this should be eye-opening to whatever vertical you're in, because you even mentioned earlier about curb appeal, and you're like, well, if you're not doing, I would even argue if you're doing anything interior other than maybe replacing their hot water heater, sell that. Hey, your kitchen floor needs replaced. Well, we can give you option A, or we can go to this option B. It is a little bit more expensive, but it's going to last a lifetime. In 15 years when you're ready to sell, think of what this looks like. I was just down at the National Pentex Coating Conference, and they do garage floors primarily.
Right.
They last. I asked what the lifetime was, and the guy said, "Well, we're too young to even be able to tell you what that is. We think these will last forever, and they're nice, they're clean. Are they a little more expensive than you and I going and doing our garage floor ourselves? Absolutely." But you're not doing it again in 2 years, and it's getting done right, and it's going to be there. So, Amber asked, "Is the link available?" Absolutely. Usually takes us about 24 to 48 hours, Amber, but it will be on that same companycam.com/webinars. I'll drop the link in here.
And if anybody wants the slide deck too, I've got some slides, so you can just shoot me an email, and I'm happy to send you some of that content directly if there's things you want to repurpose for your own sales training internally. So just shoot me a note. We're happy to share anything.
Absolutely. Anyone have any questions? Otherwise, Stan, like I said, definitely appreciate having you on. Michigan, Nebraska's not going to be playing a bowl game this year. Michigan.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, man. That's tough. And we got the I guess all these bowl games outside of playoffs are just glorified consolation games at this point. But I'll be watching.
Who do you play? Who do you play again?
Michigan plays Alabama. So
Alabama, that's right.
Yeah.
So Pete Smith, when you're tuning into this, on demand, I believe Stan just said you guys are in the Nobody Cares Consolation Bowl.
Yeah,
so,
we're in one of the fruit bowls that no one cares about. So. I think I lost. Are you still there? There we go.
I'm here. Can you add the deck into the handouts tab? I can add it. Stan, add that in there. Stan, do you have anything you want to pull out and then share with them?
No, everything there's good. But if anybody, like I said, if anybody wants me to send them the source file, like the Keynote or PowerPoint portion of this, just shoot me an email at sbastek@atlasroofing.com, shown on the screen there. I'm happy to do that, and yeah, you'll have the recorded version up here within a day or two. It sounds like.
Yep, and I'll go ahead and add the PDF of this. Obviously, you've got access to it, but if you want the actual full go from Stan that you can edit yourself, he can get you that. But otherwise, I'm uploading the PDF version of the presentation, so that will be in the handouts here. It's at 50% right now, so it is coming. Wait for it. Wait for it. Technology is awesome, isn't it?
Absolutely. Steven, thanks for the shout out, man. Got to represent Money Suit.
Money
shirt.
So is the Money Suit officially retired then, or? So
my son actually wore it to school the other day for Tacky Friday. So and the scary part about that, 12, he's almost basically fit in the Money Suit. So yeah, it's semi-retired.
So all right, well, we got 3 clicks already on the download. Stan, again, appreciate you jumping on with us. Hopefully the weather down there in Florida turns around so you can go enjoy that Florida heat. And
will do, man.
We will. You have a great holiday. Highway to Hail. Look for some Highway to Hail info. Obviously, all of you watching this are on our emailing list, but that'll be coming here Monday of next week. We're going to start launching where the cities are and getting registration open. So be looking for that.
Can't wait.
Excited to be on the road.
It's going to be great, man. Yeah, it'll be great.
It's going to be big this
holidays,
year. So.
Man. Happy New Year, and everybody out there, be safe over the holidays, and come ready raring for 2020. It's here, man. It's right around the corner.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Stan, and thanks for everyone joining in. And we will see you. I think we're going to not see you again until next year with webinars, but we'll be seeing you soon. So thanks, guys.
Sounds good. See you guys.